Here's the truth. Our current Missouri laws already protect women. Every Missouri law includes exceptions that protect the life of mothers and ensures medical care for miscarriages and ectopic pregnancies. Amendment 3 does not protect women. It puts them in danger. Vote no on Amendment 3. Paid for by Missouri Right to Life Political Action Committee. Patricia Skane, Treasurer, 573-635-4926, MissouriLifePAC.org.
Springfield Talk 104. Welcome to the show, everyone, and a good Monday morning. My name is Nick Reed. Election Eve, of course. Some of you haven't voted yet. Many of you have, as this has become the trend across the country where the United States sets itself apart from the rest of the civilized world and drags voting out over weeks, sometimes months, depending on the state you're in. The upside of it, if you're going to look for some silver lining and upsides, is the fact that any sort of shenanigans that occur and that have been occurring are getting caught early in many instances. One of the weapons against election integrity that the Democrats have long used is the short time frame, the short window. So you do something nefarious on election day, but you got the elections and then the votes are counted, and then it's a situation in which if it goes before a judge, the judge in all likelihood is like, hey, what are you going to do? It's already said and done. The election's over. We can't have a redo. And what we've seen over the last couple of weeks is a number of these counties in a number of the different states, which Republicans are catching things, 2,500 mysterious voter registrations, and these events happening early is actually a good thing because I think that it allows time, as has happened in a number of these instances, for Republicans to go to whichever jurisdiction, the court that they're in, and hopefully have a judge that follows the law or judges that follow the law and step in and remedy the situation. And when these things pop up on Election Day itself, or it's not even brought to the court until a day or two after Election Day, because it's not until then that it gets caught, it so often is just tossed aside. And then that is used as a weapon by the left to claim that, all of these challenges, the court said that there was nothing there, when that generally isn't the case. They oftentimes don't even look at the merits of the case because of the time frame, or so often the folks bringing the lawsuit or the challenge are told they don't have standing. Anytime you hear the media or the Democrats claim when it came to 2020 that there were 83 different lawsuits and every single one of them, the courts found that there was no merit to the case or the allegations, that's not true. Most of those, again, tossed without ever even evaluating the case itself. And so if you're to look for any sort of silver lining in this complete lack of election integrity system that we have in place today, it is at least the ability to catch some of this stuff ahead of time and potentially stop it. Now, the polling, kind of describing the latest rounds of polls as the last drop before the election. If you're looking for someone to analyze and say, here's what's going to happen, I mean, you can find someone to tell you essentially anything. Mark Halperin, formerly of MSNBC, tends to be a go-to. He's someone that really breaks down what is going on, and he talks to a lot of people on the ground. And I'm going to play some audio of a number of different analysts talking about what these numbers mean. And Mark Halperin, he says, everyone's talking about Pennsylvania. He says, I think that Wisconsin actually is going to be the state here, arguing that because of what he's being told by Republicans and Democrats on the ground in Wisconsin, they do not expect her to win Wisconsin. He described his conversations with 2 Republicans and a Democrat. And these are Wisconsin people. These are people that know the ground game. They're very familiar with how things play out there, that they ranged from saying that they would be anywhere from surprised to even shocked if Kamala Harris wins Wisconsin. And he says that this settling on Pennsylvania as the end-all be-all, she can win Pennsylvania and still lose because of Wisconsin. And I'm telling you, I've mentioned 2016, Jill Stein on the ballot in Wisconsin, and how many people view her as the reason that Hillary Clinton lost, because she drew enough votes away to make up a difference between a Trump versus Hillary victory. Excuse me, that they say that she handed the victory to Donald Trump. Of course, Hillary Clinton didn't even bother to go to campaign in Wisconsin, so as usual, everything is everyone else's fault. But they've desperately tried to keep Jill Stein off the ballot in Wisconsin, and they failed. And then Kamala made the brilliant move to campaign with Liz Cheney in Wisconsin, which, of course, is counterproductive. We've talked about that before. So, all that being said, who knows? Hopefully tomorrow night we'll know. There's a very good chance we will not. We all know this. We'll be doing live coverage at the Greene County Watch Party. That's at the University Plaza Convention Center. I believe the doors open at 6:30. Okay, at 6:30. We're going to begin our live broadcasting at 8. There's no real reason to do it before then, arguably. No reason to perhaps even start until 9. But nonetheless, we will be starting it at 8 o'clock. It is open to the public, so if you want to come out, they send out flyers. There'll be food and all that sort of stuff there. So if you're looking for a place to hang and see some of those results coming in and just be with others who are very interested in what's going on, that is the location for Greene County. Christian County, I'm sure every county has to some degree a watch party. What's that center called? It's in Nixa for Christian County, where the Christian County is the event center. That is where the Christian County Watch Party is going to be, and I'm sure if you are in any other county and you want to know where there's a watch party, if you reach out to your local group of Republicans, are going to be able to tell you, Central Committee, most likely, where and when you can get together with others. Tomorrow we will also have open phone lines, Delta Roofing sponsoring that, where we'll just open the lines and let you call in. You can give your thoughts, your feelings, how you think things are going to go, how you just anything and everything. This is something that we traditionally do, and we will do it again tomorrow. We're going to get the latest news update, and then we'll start off with I want to start off with the jobs numbers, because this was something that dropped on Friday, largely ignored by the media because they were well below expectations, but they are even worse than the initial glance appears. And so we'll talk about that, plus more. The Pyramid Roofing Company talk and text line 447 KSGF. Now the latest news update.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Angela Luna. There's a growing number of cities and states holding contests to look for unique I voted sticker designs. The goal is to bring added attention to the election and boost voter participation. There's also a national contest for designing the stickers, and it was launched in 2019 by the Election Assistance Commission. The Greene County Clerk's Office says the I voted sticker being passed out here was designed by a Willard East Elementary School student. A man is charged with murder after investigators say he killed his wife and son Friday night following a standoff with police in Lenexa, Kansas. Officers responded to the home after reports of gunfire and attempted to get the suspect, Todd Donovan, to come outside. Police said negotiators allegedly spoke with Donovan for 2 hours before entering the home. That's when officers found the bodies of 2 victims, and Donovan is also facing animal cruelty charges after investigators say he shot and killed his neighbor's dog on the same night. From Color 10 Studios, I'm Angela Luna.
We were talking about that Christian County
Yes.
election night watch party. That opens at 7 p.m.
Okay.
And it's at the Ozarks Event Center. I'll put a
Yeah.
link up on our
Which
social.
is in Nixa, I believe.
It is,
Okay.
yes. So that's why there's a little confusion. Ozarks Event Center, Nixa. The first alert forecast from Color 10 Fox 49 meteorologist Tom Schmidt, sponsored by St. Clair the Ozarks Home Improvements. Today we'll see showers and thunderstorms throughout the day with a high near 72. Tonight, showers and storms with a low near 56. For your Tuesday, a 50% chance of showers early on and then cloudy skies with a high near 64. And on Wednesday, sunny with a high near 65.
Patrol Traffic, presented by Sportsland. Get your trailer repaired, customized, or buy a new one.
Sportsland, pickup covers, and trailer sales.
There is an accident reported now on Hunt Road at Highway 160. They never did find an accident on James River Freeway at National. Traffic is picking up a little bit more on northbound Highway 65 between Sunshine and I-44. And it's a little busier northbound Kansas between James River Freeway and Walnut Lawn. From the Go Patrol Traffic Center, I'm Tim Weiland.
This report is sponsored by Allstate. Some people just know you could save money on car insurance by checking Allstate first. Those people are probably saving a carload of cash right now. So what are you waiting for? Check Allstate first for a quote today. You're in good hands with Allstate.
Do you remember that time that Stephanie Hine couldn't define a boy or a girl? Or what about when, to all our chagrin, Stephanie opposed our tax cuts again? And guess who opposed both me and you when it came time to back the blue? Stephanie Hine. Not just this time. Not only this rhyme supported the crime that cost us a Missouri hero. Election day is coming this way, so when it comes time to grade Miss Hine, give her a big fat 0.
Answering the call to serve. That's Jim Robinette. He doesn't play politics. A retired colonel, Robinette is an Army veteran of Desert Storm, Afghanistan, and Iraq. A husband, father to 2 children on active duty. As our representative, Robinette will work to create good jobs, keep our streets safe, improve classrooms for all children, and give families relief from higher prices. Jim Robinette, leadership, common sense for state representative.
Paid for by House Republican Campaign Committee, Kevin Corlew, Treasurer.
Joe Bonamassa, that's one of the world's greatest guitar players. Rock tight, Joe Bonamassa. Performing live on November 20th at Juanita K. Hammonds Hall. Tickets on sale now at HammondsHall.com. Joe Bonamassa. Every show is a new experience.
You're listening to Nick Reed in the Morning on Springfield's Talk 1041.
A1 Custom Car Care, all of your car care needs, be they big, be they small, anywhere in between. Don't ignore that check engine light. It just doesn't, problems don't fix themselves. We're not there yet when it comes to vehicles. Now, they sometimes compensate. They, with the computers that ultimately drive the vehicle, keep it going. When you have a problem in one area, maybe 20, 30 years ago, you would have felt it, you would have noticed it. When it's possible, the vehicle compensates for that. The computer makes other parts compensate, and that way you are able to get wherever it is that you're going comfortably without any trouble. Now, the problem with that is sometimes you don't realize there's a problem. That's why the check engine light's there. And sometimes it's nothing, but sometimes it can be something very big, so you want to not ignore that. A1 Custom Car Care for all of those car care needs. The jobs numbers came out, not good for Americans, which should mean it's not good for Kamala Harris. And the initial push out of these numbers, which, as you can imagine, you didn't hear the Kamala people bragging about. And you didn't hear the media going on and on about it because it's bad. And they were the experts, of course. These experts that prove the only thing they're experts at is getting these numbers wrong, had predicted well over 100,000 jobs. And the number that came out was 12,000. The factor in here, however, that makes this even worse than it looks is that the federal government added 40,000 jobs. So how is it that we could have only had 12,000 jobs added if the federal government added 40,000 jobs? Well, we lost 28,000 private sector jobs. So the 13 plus number, if you take out the jobs that you and I are paying for, the 40,000 government jobs that were added, you take that out, in the private sector, in terms of jobs created, we actually lost 28,000 jobs. Now, I don't know about you, but to me, that's the real relevant number here. And that's the number we should focus on, because not that we shouldn't know how big government continues to get in any given month, because that is important. But when it comes to the overall health of the economy and the jobs that are created, you see how easily they can manipulate things. Here we actually lost jobs, but, let's just slap on. How many thousands do we need? 40,000. All right. So even though it's an anemic gain at that, still it does give just a different impression, because jobs added, certainly as small as they may be, seems a lot better than jobs lost. So the final month of numbers going into the election, into election day, our economy lost jobs. 28,000. There were a lot of people talking about this Iowa poll that came out. The vast majority of people, the Iowa poll, did you hear about? So the Iowa poll showed Harris leading Trump by 3 percentage points. Now, the reason that this has caught a lot of attention is because Trump has been up double digits in Iowa, and it's not a race that is even on the map for Kamala Harris. So this, as you can imagine, obviously the Kamala Harris people, they're like, look at us. This should be inspiring. This should excite all of you Harris supporters to get out there and vote, because we could, if we can win Iowa, what does it mean for your swing state? Virtually everyone, even Democrats, are like, okay, something's not right here. In June, Trump was up 18 points over Joe Biden. So you're talking about over a 20-point swing, which incidentally, when you look at where things are in the swing states right now on average, it's right back to where they were the eve of the debate between Donald Trump and Joe Biden, right back where everything started. If Donald Trump ends up winning this, think about what the Democrats have done to their party and to this country, all for nothing. They threw democracy out the window. And they went around telling Democrat voters, this is the guy, he's as sharp as a tack, give us money, give us money, give us money, all the time knowing what it is that they would later reveal that they knew, and that he wasn't fine. Then the debate comes along, and that combined with, of course, the polling numbers, they decided, you know what, screw the election, we're going to overturn it. The donors said, Kamala Harris, we feel she's the best shot. She's been in the White House. She's got the name recognition. Plus, this is the pick that, well, we can just put her in there, rig this thing to where nobody else challenges, because we don't want any messiness. That's the last thing they wanted, was messiness. Hence, their move to make the convention irrelevant, and weeks prior to the convention had a virtual delegate casting of votes, and Kamala Harris was then, the nomination was bought for her at that time. This woman's running for president. This close, potentially, to becoming president, and not a single person voted for her to even run as a Democrat. And if Trump ends up winning, which the poll numbers show, the Democrats are right back where they were when it came to Joe Biden. Look at how they've just, when it comes to the vote, when it comes to the sacred nature of the vote, when it comes to defending democracy, they threw it all out the window. For what? Now, the poll itself, the Iowa poll in which there was some discussion, but largely just dismissed. I mention this so you don't panic. Polls are polls. But the crosstabs, the methodology, all of this, the Des Moines Register, Mediacom folks who did the poll aren't talking about the crosstabs. So no one can really get in there and look and try to figure out, okay, what is going on here? What is the cause of this massive swing? And so it's largely being dismissed. Now, there's been a lot of talk about what do the polls mean. If you're going to collectively get a sense, the overall theme is one in which this really is Donald Trump 2016 potentially, and the sense and the feeling is that Donald Trump is going to take this. That being said, you're going to have some that speculate, well, Democrats are just saying that behind the scenes so it leaks out so that the Kamala Harris voters will be more likely to get out to try to put her over the edge. There can be speculation all day long. We'll play some of the audio of the evaluation over the weekend going into Election Day, which, of course, is tomorrow. Pyramid Roofing Company, talk a text line. You want to text anything in, feel free to do so. 417-447-KSGF.
Sample ballots are now available. Sponsored by Brad Pistol, host of Save Money Radio. From the candidates to detailed amendment info, get it all in the election section at KSGF.com.
Choosing the right candidates for any office can be difficult.
My office has lots of drama.
My office has its ups and downs.
I share my office. But no matter what kind of office you have, one thing's for certain. If you're hiring, you need ZipRecruiter. ZipRecruiter's powerful matching technology finds the most qualified candidates for your roles fast, and you can invite your top choices to apply. In fact, 4 out of 5 employers who post on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. So, for any kind of office.
I'm really going places in my office.
My office has everything you could ever want.
Count on ZipRecruiter to find the right candidates for it. Try ZipRecruiter for free today at ZipRecruiter.com/free. That's ZipRecruiter.com/free. ZipRecruiter.com/free.
Missouri's Amendment 3 is cleverly worded to convince you that it only allows abortions until fetal viability. But it has loopholes that allow for abortions through all 9 months of pregnancy. Abortion proponents used to say safe, legal, and rare. But now they want abortion as common as the morning after pill. Plus, minor-age children will have access to sex change surgeries without parental consent. Vote no on Amendment 3.
Paid for by Leadership for America PAC, John B. Royal Treasurer.
You're listening to Nick Reed in the Morning on Springfield's Talk 1041.
For the weekend, veteran Republican strategist Alex Castellanos on Fox News election coverage. This was last night. Talking with Brett Baer about the polls and all this analysis of the polls. Incidentally, Nate Silver, who is, he's long been viewed, he's kind of a lefty guy, but because he hasn't said things lately that the left likes, they now accuse him of being in Trump's pocket, because the left, denialism is very strong within those people, and anything that is negative, they don't want to hear it. Hence, 20% of Washington Post subscribers canceling their subscription when the Post said they weren't going to endorse any candidate for the presidency. Nate Silver, he says that he feels that some of these polls, they are trying to tip the scales towards Kamala, that they are deliberately making this seem very close so that the Kamala people, the Democrat voters, don't say, what's the point? There's no point. Momentum's on Trump's side. That's what he believes is happening. Now, not as strategic or nefarious. Alex Castellanos on Fox News, he does believe, though, that there is something missing when it comes to the polls.
We're talking about the Iowa poll. This is Des Moines Register, and this poll had Harris up, Alex, 3 points. And there you see Robert F. Kennedy Jr. at 3 points. An Emerson poll came out with Trump up 10, just about a half an hour before that. Polling in the last few days before an election, what's your thoughts on that?
I'm ready to say, let's kill all the pollsters instead of the lawyers, except my friend Mark Penn. I like Mark Penn. I think the pollsters are getting this wrong. We're all missing something because they're giving us the same poll over and over again. There isn't even statistical variation. 95% confidence level means that 5% of the time you're going to get a crappy poll. We hardly ever see that. It's like they're telling us we're watching a basketball game where every play is a jump ball. Somebody's missing something. What I think they're missing is a massive shift in voter registration underneath all of this. 31 states have voter registration by party. 30 of them in the past 4 years have seen movement toward Republicans. Miami-Dade County is now voting more Republican. Iowa was +1 Republican. It's now +10. And yet we're getting these surveys that I think are off base. Somewhere, somebody is missing something. I think I'm not going to call it a wave, but I think there's a wavelet out there of Republican enthusiasm and registration. If I register to vote Republican, whether I'm switching or new, what am I going to do?
We just don't know where.
Now, we'll play coming up former Obama campaign manager on MSNBC talking also about the early vote totals, saying it's a little bit scary for the Democrats, and the reason for that as well, because the big question has been, you hear talking about cannibalizing, Republicans cannibalizing their own votes, and the reference to that is, all right, so you hear about 80,000 people that are registered as Republican showing up and voting early. Are those 80,000 Republicans that simply would have otherwise voted on Election Day, so it's not really doing anything in terms of total votes, it's just shifting those votes. Now, by the way, Missouri, of course, is not a state in which you are registered by political party. That should be noted because some of you may wonder, well, how do they know if these people, how they're voting? Well, they don't know for sure how they're voting, but what you can do is make certain assumptions based off of political party and a number of different states. Pennsylvania is one of them, Georgia's another, these all important states in this election cycle. The people are registered by political party. And so whenever they vote, that is noted as, okay, well, here's a Republican who has voted early. And so the thing that has been known is that Republicans are doing what it is that the Republican Party under Donald Trump has said, this is what we need to do this time, get out and vote early. But again, are these just voters that would have otherwise voted on Election Day? And the news regarding that breakdown is also good for the Trump campaign. So that also coming up. Springfield's Talk 104.1. I'm Nick Reed.
Go Patrol Traffic, presented by Sportsland. Get a free lift kit with select ATV or UTV tire and wheel packages.
Sportsland, pickup covers, and trailer sales.
Wet roads are slowing things down all over the Springfield area. You do have an accident in Willard on Hunt Road at Highway 160. Now, everything else is moving a little bit slower than normal. You've got a 15-minute drive on westbound James River Freeway from Highway 65 to I-44. Expect about a 19-minute drive on westbound I-44 from 125 to James River Freeway. From the Go Patrol Traffic Center, I'm Tim Weiland.
Did you know there's more to a window than just glass? With windows from St. Clair of the Ozarks Home Improvements, you get the Duralite Spacer System. This system limits condensation and adds to the structural integrity of your windows, and it buffers the stress that comes with thermal expansion. It can also improve sound reduction, making them more noise-resistant than standard windows. To make sure your future windows have the Duralite Spacer System, call St. Clair of the Ozarks Home Improvements today, 883-7748. That's 883-7748.
Attention, Missouri Republicans. Donald Trump Jr. has endorsed Amendment 2.
Don Jr. calls legalizing sports betting a no-brainer for Missouri. Right now, 38 states allow sports betting, including 7 of Missouri's neighboring states. Amendment 2 will give Missouri fans the freedom to bet too, and that means our money will stay at home instead of going to other states. Legalizing sports betting will generate more than $100 million for Missouri schools without raising property taxes. That's why our Republican candidate for governor, Mike Kehoe, is joining Donald Trump Jr. in supporting Amendment 2, generating more money for Missouri schools without raising property taxes, giving Missouri fans the freedom to bet on games. Donald Trump Jr. has it right. Voting yes on Amendment 2 is a no-brainer for Missouri Republicans. Join Don Jr. in saying yes on 2. Paid for by Winning for Missouri Education, Mike Pridmore, Treasurer.
Mornings with Nick Reed is brought to you by Crown Power and Equipment. Crown Power and Equipment, your local Kubota dealer in Monette and our new store in Springfield.
Pop quiz. What's the #1 selling compact tractor in America for more than 10 years? If you said the Kubota L Series, you're probably the kind of person who knows exactly why it's been #1 for over a decade. The L Series is the core of the Kubota compact tractor lineup. Clutchless, easy operation, and Kubota's hydrostatic transmission in a compact tractor to tackle any size job. Your Kubota L Series is waiting at Crown Power and Equipment. Passion, power, performance. Crown-Power.com.
You're listening to Nick Reed in the Morning on Springfield's Talk 1041.
Springfield's Talk 1041, your first alert forecast from Color 10 Fox 49 meteorologist Tom Schmidt, sponsored by Wolfpack Cleaners, your residential and commercial cleaning professionals. Today we'll see showers and thunderstorms throughout the day with a high near 72. Tonight, once again, showers and storms with a low around 56. For your Tuesday, a 50% chance of showers early on and then cloudy skies with a high near 64. And on Wednesday, sunny with a high near 65.
Pyramid Roofing Company talk and text line. Locally, have any officials expressed what percentage of voters have voted early? I've not yet voted, but seems like a lot of people have. I have not heard those numbers. I haven't reached out, but I will tell you, I assumed that in all likelihood, the first couple of days of early voting would be big and then it would slowly fall off. That did not seem to be the case. I saw someone had posted, I believe it was Greene County, but I could be wrong. On Saturday, they went, and they said it was over 2 hours. Wow. Over 2 hours. I continue to see these pics, particularly Greene County. Now, I talk to people in some of the other counties, and it isn't necessarily that way. But in Greene County, I mean, just continue to see pics that are put up either at the library station or Boonville and location. And the lines are just, I mean, wrapped around buildings, right? Wrapped around the side of the library. And so I again thought, well, early voting day, that's going to be that very first day, 2 weeks prior to the election, which would have been essentially 2 weeks ago, minus a day, that and then maybe the next day would be really busy. But that has just been a trend that has continued, seemingly, at least in Greene County, this entire time. So a lot. I mean, now the question is, particularly for Republicans, are these simply votes that are shifting from election day to prior to election day? In other words, it really doesn't make any difference, vote totals, because it's the same amount of people. And what they're finding is that is not the case for Republicans. There have been evaluations of Pennsylvania showing that as many as or as high of a percentage as 20% of early Republican voters are first-time voters. Down in Georgia, what would be considered the low propensity voters, these are people that don't vote every presidential election. Some haven't at all, that they are just shellacking Democrats. That you've got Republicans in certain areas of Georgia, some of the numbers, I mean, thousands and thousands, like 8,500 Republicans to 800 Democrats that have voted, that early voted but don't always vote in presidential elections. And so, all of that is very good news for the Republicans. And it does have Democrats very concerned because the early voting's always been their game. And to true Trump fashion. And this is just why Trump is the sort of person we want in government. When he takes a crack at something a certain way, if it doesn't work, he says, okay, let's try something else. And you may recall in 2020, the messaging was vote on Election Day, don't early vote because ballots could get lost in the mail, the drop boxes could be a situation. And Trump realized that did not work. And so, okay, we've got to get in the early voting game. His approach is so different from the regular government approach, in which if something doesn't work, the answer is, well, we need more money to do more of what's not working. And as ludicrous as that sounds, look at it. I mean, is that not the answer for everything? Our education system in this country is a perfect example of that. We continue to see declines in the results. So what is the answer? We need more money. We need more money. I mean, look at one of the online gambling right now. How do you know that it's good for education? Well, because more money. That's just the answer for everything. We need to do more. More money means we can do more of what it is that we're already doing, which isn't working. And frankly, Democrats have been very accustomed to a Republican Party being run by Republicans who operate that way, as do Democrats, and when it comes to governing anyhow. And then Trump comes along, recognizes that we need to start doing early voting, also recognizes that the people who are running the RNC weren't really truly appreciating that, and so he got rid of those people and put in others that he knew understood the need for the early voting. And this is why we're seeing what we're seeing. MSNBC discussing the early vote.
Okay, what's their biggest concern right now if you're the Harris team?
Well, look, I think it's a couple things. The early vote numbers are a little scary, and you and I have been texting back and forth. Republicans didn't do what they did last time. Last time Trump said don't early vote, and so they didn't. Republicans do have an advantage in early vote numbers. When the early vote come in, it's going to look a little bit different than 2020, and that's scary.
All right, that's on with Jen Psaki. I want to play audio coming up that I think is very interesting also from Mark Halperin, who formerly is of MSNBC. And he has spent this election really looking at the numbers, and not just the numbers that you and I see, but talking with people who have access to the internal numbers. Now, if you want to read tea leaves and you just observe the behavior of the two candidates, it would suggest that the internal polls look good for Donald Trump. It's been noted that over the past week in particular, Donald Trump is having a good time. He's out there, he's having fun, he seems relaxed. Meanwhile, Kamala Harris increasingly seems exhausted and erratic in terms of campaigning. They were halfway to an event in Michigan when at the very last minute decided to turn the plane around to go do that Saturday Night Live cameo, which, by the way, has gotten NBC in some trouble. We'll talk about the equal time aspect of that coming up. They know exactly what they're doing. Violating equal time. It's the cost of doing business in order to get their candidate elected president. But if you are just to try and read the personality of these two campaigns and know that they have internal polling that is done not to sway public one way or another, but is really to try to figure out what's going on, you would think that Donald Trump is feeling very, very good and Kamala Harris is not. I mean, you just see the way that they're behaving, and that potentially could suggest something. Pennsylvania is the state everyone continues to talk about. That Pennsylvania, whomever wins Pennsylvania wins the White House. Mark Halperin, based off of conversations he's been having with Republicans and Democrats, says that's not necessarily true. He says Wisconsin potentially could once again be the state seen as giving Donald Trump the win to the White House. His explanation of that next. I'm Nick Reed.
Go Patrol Traffic presented by A1 Custom Car Care. Faced with big car repairs but can't afford to pay for it all right now? A1 Custom Car Care has financing options available.
A little bit busy on southbound Kansas between Walnut Lawn and James River Freeway. Northbound West Bypass getting a little busier in pockets now. North of Battlefield to Sunshine. If you're on northbound Highway 65, steady volume right now between Sunshine and I-44. And a little heavier eastbound Kearney, Packer Road to Highway 65. From the Go Patrol Traffic Center, I'm Tim Weiland.
This report is sponsored by GeneratorFranchise.com. Millions protect their homes from power outages with Generac home standby generators. Would you like to be part of this lucrative industry? Generator Supercenter, the nation's #1 Generac generator dealer, has limited franchise opportunities in your area. Learn more at GeneratorFranchise.com.
Brahms Breakfast keeps getting better with 2 new specialty breakfast burritos. Brahms 3-meat breakfast burrito comes packed with sausage, bacon, ham, eggs, tomatoes, onions, jalapenos, pepper jack cheese, and mustard. And Brahms Spanish breakfast burrito features guacamole with a hearty serving of sausage, eggs, tomatoes, onions, jalapenos, and pepper jack cheese. Grab Brahms' new specialty breakfast burritos from 6 to 10:30 every morning. Only at Brahms.
Good morning, Doctor. Doctor? Hi, Doctor. Doctor?
Dr. Jackson's practice is growing.
What do you mean we're still short-staffed?
He needs a good patient doctor.
How do we not have enough doctors to doctor all these patients?
And he doesn't have the patience to sift through hundreds of resumes.
I need Indeed.
Indeed you do. When you sponsor a job on Indeed, it's easier for talented candidates to find it, which makes it easier for you to hire them. Visit Indeed.com/credit and get $75 towards your first sponsored job. Terms and conditions apply.
Presenting a Gain Flings love story. Dear love of my life, we were on the 12B bus this morning when I caught a whiff. A scent so fresh, so life-changing, I had to find its source. Alas, I didn't know if you were the woman in the pink freshly washed cardigan or the retired mailman next to me, but I knew one of you was my soulmate. Ah, the scent of Gain Flings. Try Gain Flings with OxyBoost and Febreze.
You're listening to Nick Reed in the Morning on Springfield's Talk 1041.
There's been a great deal of attention paid to Pennsylvania as the must-win state, which is part of the reason it was so profoundly telling that Kamala Harris did not pick that governor, who's a widely popular governor in that state, to be a running mate, and how much they are catering to the anti-Semitic wing of the Democrat Party. He's a Jew, and they openly said, we can't really have a Jew on the ticket, because we'll upset the base. This is where we are in 2024, the United States of America, where you have one of 2 main political parties openly talking about how they can't have a Jew on the ticket. And so she went with Tim Walz instead. Mark Halperin, over the weekend, putting forth the contention that Pennsylvania may not be needed for Donald Trump to win. Once again, all eyes could potentially need to be on Wisconsin.
Okay. First of all, revelation for me today regarding the battleground states. It remains the base case that Vice President Harris is unlikely to win, according to my sources in both parties. Not sure thing, but unlikely to win Georgia, North Carolina, Arizona. If she doesn't win those 3 states, she must sweep Pennsylvania, Michigan, and Wisconsin. As forecast here a long time ago, it appears that she's basically back to where Joe Biden was on the eve of the debate. 1 electoral college path to exactly 270 electoral votes. So our intense focus for the rest of the way will be to continue to monitor to see whether she can actually win North Carolina, Georgia, or Arizona. Does not appear to my sources now that she will. Can she win the 3 Great Lakes states? And the focus has been on Pennsylvania. Here on this platform, we did a 2-hour show called It's All About Pennsylvania. And what I'm here to tell you tonight, based on my reporting with Democrats and Republicans nationally and in both those states, that it could be that Kamala Harris wins Pennsylvania but loses the White House because she loses Wisconsin. Michigan remains a bit of a puzzle. Both Kamala Harris and Donald Trump are doing dueling rallies near each other in Wisconsin tonight. fitting, as far as I'm concerned, for my reporting. Because as I said, my reporting is that she's in trouble in Wisconsin. This is based on 3 sources, 2 Republicans, 1 Democrat, all of whom know the state quite well. And all of whom told me today the same version of they would be somewhere between surprised and shocked if Kamala Harris won Wisconsin. Okay? Doesn't mean she's not going to. All I'm telling you is to reorient yourself away from news framing that says it's all about Pennsylvania. The winner of Pennsylvania will win this election. That's become kind of a mantra. The winner of Pennsylvania will win. I'm here to tell you, she may well win Pennsylvania and win the election, but she could win the Pennsylvania and lose the election because she doesn't win Wisconsin. Watch Wisconsin.
Now, if that does, in fact, turn out to be the case, there is going to be a great deal of hand-wringing over the repeats of the Hillary Clinton campaign sins. And I know I don't want to say harping on this, but I've been going back to Wisconsin for weeks and weeks now. And the fact that if one were to argue that the Kamala Harris campaign was looking for a subtle way to lose Wisconsin, she would be doing it. The first problem, real problem that they had in Wisconsin was the fact that they failed to have Jill Stein thrown off the ballot. They have been very successful in having candidates thrown off the ballot in a number of different states, including Cornel West, the black candidate, and the socialist candidate, who is a woman of color. So once again, we see whether it's Crystal Quaid right here, when she went to court to try and have a black man thrown off the ballot, or on a national level, Democrats continue to throw people of color off the ballot. Jill Stein, not a person of color. Her running mate is, so I suppose that qualifies. They failed, however, in Wisconsin. Jill Stein gets the left wing, or siphons off, she did with the Hillary Clinton campaign, siphoned off a significant number of votes from the left wing of the Democrat Party. Enough to where if those people had voted for Hillary Clinton instead, then Hillary Clinton would have won Wisconsin, and she would have been president of the United States. And so Jill Stein was everything from an agent of Russia to a traitor and all the other names that Democrats love to throw at people that they accuse of being responsible for their failures. In addition to Jill Stein being on the campaign, or on the ballot once again in Wisconsin, the Harris campaign made the boneheaded move to campaign in Wisconsin with Liz Cheney. The one person that you can guarantee is going to make sure that those same people, or the same type of voter that decided to abandon Hillary Clinton and vote for Jill Stein, do it again this time around. In fact, there have been numerous news stories about how progressives are very, very upset and deciding not to vote for Kamala Harris because she is campaigning with Liz Cheney. Particularly within the Muslim community, which is another category of people that she desperately needs, somewhat in Wisconsin, but Minnesota, Michigan being two of the big ones, and there's a significant number in Pennsylvania as well. Totally boneheaded move. So much so, they have been spending millions of dollars to run campaign ads in Wisconsin, largely, perhaps solely, the Milwaukee market. I don't know if they've expanded beyond it. To me, Madison would be another market they should do that in, because Madison is arguably to the left of Berkeley, California. But they've been dropping all of this money in Milwaukee, running ads telling people don't vote for Jill Stein. A vote for Jill Stein is a vote for Donald Trump. So what you have here is the Kamala Harris campaign has set up a scenario in which they are campaigning against themselves. She gets Liz Cheney to campaign with her in Wisconsin, driving voters to Jill Stein. So then they have to run ads in Wisconsin telling her voters don't vote for Jill Stein. And if, as Mark Halprin says here, is a potential outcome in which, while everyone is paying attention to Pennsylvania as the must-have state, she could win Pennsylvania, but then Wisconsin could, like Hillary Clinton, lose it to Donald Trump. I think they're just going to go apoplectic, and they're all going to be – they will present her campaign as losing this because of these boneheaded moves that nobody's calling her out for. I mean, no one, and I think they don't want to do it because they don't want to draw attention to it and make the issue even worse than it is. But it's just such a clear, foolish move for her to make in the last couple of weeks in Wisconsin that it would almost be very poetic to see it turn out that way. Springfield's Talk 104.1. I'm Nick Reed.
Go Patrol Traffic brought to you by MTS Express. MTS Express provides the highest quality professional mobile tire solutions within a 25-mile radius of Springfield. Visit mtsexpress.com.
Overall, things are still pretty quiet on the highways around the Springfield area. You do have a new accident reported on State Highway 13 at State Highway Double B. I'm also seeing a little heavier traffic now on northbound Highway 65 between Chestnut Expressway and I-44. Things have picked up a little bit on eastbound I-44 between Glenstone and Highway 65. From the Go Patrol Traffic Center, I'm Tim Weiland.
Is reviewing life insurance on your to-do list? Now's the perfect time to add it. A friend recently told me that securing life insurance sooner rather than later can help you lock in lower rates for years to come. So I bumped this up on my list and got it done. I called SelectQuote and couldn't believe how easy and affordable life insurance is. I'm 40 and got a $500,000 policy for $16 a month. My husband's also 40 and his $500,000 policy was only $18 a month. Plus, with SelectQuote's same-day coverage, there was no medical exam required, and we were covered by the time we hung up. Knowing I have this checked off my list feels amazing, but the peace of mind knowing my family is protected feels even better.
Call SelectQuote at 1-800-694-1010. That's 1-800-694-1010. Or go to SelectQuote.com to get your free quote today. 1-800-694-1010.
Details on example rate at SelectQuote.com.
Give the star in your life the brightest gift in the world. Name a star after them. This is Rocky Moselle with International Star Registry. For $59 and a call to 800-282-3333 or visit starregistry.com, you can name a star for birthdays, weddings, or even memorials. Over 45 years, we have named millions of stars for celebrities and individuals from around the world. The star you name will be recorded in book form in the U.S. Copyright Office. Visit starregistry.com or call 800-282-3333. Give the star in your life the brightest gift in the world. Name a star after them. This is Rocky Moselle with International Star Registry. For $59 and a call to 800-282-3333 or visit starregistry.com, you can name a star for birthdays, weddings, or even memorials. Over 45 years, we have named millions of stars for celebrities and individuals from around the world. The star you name will be recorded in book form in the U.S. Copyright Office. Visit starregistry.com or call 800-282-3333.
You're listening to Nick Reed in the Morning on Springfield's Talk 104.1.
Emily Johnson, House Theory Realty. If you have a home buying need, you got Emily Johnson. If you got a home selling need, you have Emily Johnson. She is absolutely by far the best. I read reviews to you all the time. One of my favorite themes are folks who are trying to sell their homes, and then they have the inspection, there's an offer, but it includes half a dozen different things. Like, well, we want a termite thing done, and we need this done, and we need that done. And all of a sudden, it's somewhat overwhelming, not only arranging for all that, but who do you trust? You don't want to get ripped off. You know how that stuff goes. And when these situations arise, Emily Johnson has these contacts, because this is what she does. And she does it at such a high volume that she learns who is good, who is trusted, who's not going to rip you off. And that in and of itself is so invaluable. So it's just one of the many themes, particularly for people who are selling their homes and have that list of things pop up that they have to do in order for the sale to go through, and just what a huge benefit having Emily Johnson in their corner to help arrange all of that stuff. So for that, and of course, buying homes, selling and buying at the same time sometimes as well. Emily Johnson, House Theory Realty. Coming up, we'll talk a bit about the clearly an attempt by NBC through Saturday Night Live to violate equal time rules in order to help Kamala Harris get elected president of the United States. We'll explain that, plus discussions over the week. The media falsely claiming that Trump called for the execution of Liz Cheney and more. I'm Nick Reed.
Reviewing life insurance on your to-do list? Now's the perfect time to add it. A friend recently told me that securing life insurance sooner rather than later can help you lock in lower rates for years to come. So I bumped this up on my list and got it done. I called SelectQuote and couldn't believe how easy and affordable life insurance is. I'm 40 and got a $500,000 policy for $16 a month. My husband's also 40 and his $500,000 policy was only $18 a month. Plus, with SelectQuote's same-day coverage, there was no medical exam required, and we were covered by the time we hung up. Knowing I have this checked off my list feels amazing, but the peace of mind knowing my family is protected feels even better.
Call SelectQuote at 1-800-694-1010. That's 1-800-694-1010. Or go to SelectQuote.com to get your free quote today. 1-800-694-1010.
Details on example rate at SelectQuote.com.
Springfield's Talk 1041. Broadcasting live from the Pyramid Roofing Studios. It's now 7 o'clock. For one KSGF FM, Ash Grove, Springfield, and 1260 AM, KSGF, Springfield.
Springfield's Talk 1041, presented by HVAC Master Heating and Air Conditioning. Don't get taken advantage of. At HVAC Master Heating and Air Conditioning, they put service before sales.
With the economy the way it is, the last thing you want to hear when getting your HVAC unit serviced is, you need a brand new unit. Hi, Rick Lau with HVAC Masters here. Just because someone's trying to sell you a new unit doesn't mean you really need one. At HVAC Masters, our number one goal is to keep you in the unit you already have. So if you are looking for a service call and not a sales pitch, call HVAC Masters, 417-655-3542. HVAC Masters, we show up with a tool bag in hand, not a price sheet.
Go Patrol traffic brought to you by MTS Express. New tires for your car or truck from the comfort of your home or workplace. Tire shop lobbies are a thing of the past. Locally owned and managed. MTS Express. Visit mtsexpress.com.
Overall, things are still pretty quiet on the highways around the Springfield area. You do have a new accident reported on State Highway 13 at State Highway Double B. I'm also seeing a little heavier traffic now on northbound Highway 65 between Chestnut Expressway and I-44. Things have picked up a little bit on eastbound I-44 between Glenstone and Highway 65. From the Go Patrol Traffic Center, I'm Tim Weiland.
This report is sponsored by Progressive Insurance. Progressive Commercial Insurance flexes to fit your business's needs. From quick repairs to adjustable coverages and even payment options, Progressive Commercial makes it easy to get what you need. Quote today in as little as 6 minutes at progressivecommercial.com.
Did you know there's more to a window than just glass? With windows from St. Clair of the Ozarks Home Improvements, you get the Duralite Spacer System. This system limits condensation and adds to the structural integrity of your windows, and it buffers the stress that comes with thermal expansion. It can also improve sound reduction, making them more noise-resistant than standard windows. To make sure your future windows have the Duralite Spacer System, call St. Clair of the Ozarks Home Improvements today, 883-7748. That's 883-7748.
You know, autumn leaves, they're beautiful until they start clogging up your gutters. You're busy enough this season without having to get up on a ladder, that horrible, dirty job, and clean out your gutters. Whether you're tired of unclogging your gutters or you don't even know what they look like, well, it's time for a permanent solution to protect your biggest investment, your home, and that is Leaf Filter. And right now you can save up to 30% off your entire purchase at leaffilteroneword.com/Hannity. Now, clogs aren't just a nuisance. They can cause extensive water damage. Let Leaf Filter's trusted pros help protect your home from flooding, roof damage, rotting siding, foundation issues, and much more. They're going to clean out, realign, seal your gutters before they even install Leaf Filter and their award-winning patented technology. Never get on a ladder and clean out those gutters again with Leaf Filter, America's #1 gutter protection system. Get your free inspection up to 30% off your entire purchase. Go to leaffilter.com/Hannity. That's leaffilter.com/Hannity today. See representative for warranty details.
Missouri's Amendment 3 is cleverly worded to convince you that it only allows abortions until fetal viability. But it has loopholes that allow for abortions through all 9 months of pregnancy. Abortion proponents used to say safe, legal, and rare. But now they want abortion as common as the morning after pill. Plus, minor-age children will have access to sex change surgeries without parental consent. Vote no on Amendment 3.
Paid for by Leadership for America PAC, John B. Royal Treasurer.
I don't know if, equal time violations aside, the Saturday Night Live appearance by Kamala Harris is or was a wise move to make. I'm watching the replays of it on the Today Show, and the number one concern that so many people have, as they're still apparently trying to decide for whom to vote, is that Kamala Harris, that, you know, there's nothing authentic about her. She's not real. They don't know where she stands. And just here having her on Saturday Night Live doesn't really do anything other than reinforce that it's all sizzle and no steak. Now, if she had if there was a problem that she had with people feeling that she was too stiff and you know, well, we know exactly where she stands on the issues. We don't have any concerns about that, but I don't know. She just doesn't seem like the sort of person that you could just sit around and crack jokes with. Then you could see that being a route to go. Like, all right, well, let's do something fun. Let's show people that Kamala can be hip and cool. But those aren't the concerns. I mean, not that people necessarily think she's that hip and cool, but, it's just nonstop celebrity after celebrity after celebrity after celebrity. I saw Robert De Niro was in Pennsylvania campaigning for her. You have all of the Avenger cast out there campaigning for her. You got George Clooney campaigning for her. You got Julia Roberts campaigning for her. It's nothing but celebrity, glitz and glamour. It's the rich, it's the elite. And then to have her go on Saturday Night Live instead of going to visit with actual voters in Michigan, which is where she was headed to a rally, and she decided no. And I get it. She figures SNL, wider audience, but I don't know, the imagery of it and people, it just sends the signal out of touch. Voters out there are consistently talking about the economy, the border, and crime. I mean, this is the concern they have. And they have concerns because Kamala Harris has been part of this administration, and there is a desire to hear her give something substantive that will say, oh, well, I'll do things different than Joe Biden. And, of course, instead she said, no, I can't think of a single thing I do differently. And SNL, it gives you this, if I'm one of those people, if I'm undecided, and I don't really like Trump's personality, but yeah, things were better under him. And I'm just looking for her to give me something of substance. And then in the final days, I turn out she's on Saturday Night Live. It just, if I'm one of those voters, it's going to tell me that she doesn't get it. Maybe I'm wrong on that. But it doesn't seem to answer the call that so many of the American people are looking for, and that is who understands what we're going through, who gets our problems. Now, the appearance itself, obviously a brazen, unapologetic violation of FEC rules here. Brendan Carr, who is the commissioner on the Federal Communications Commission, or he's a senior commissioner, tweeted on X that the FCC's equal time requirement requires opposing candidates to get the same airtime, and said that NBC structured this appearance in a way that evades the requirements. This is a clear and blatant effort to evade the FCC's equal time rule. The purpose of the rule is to avoid exactly this type of biased and partisan conduct. A licensed broadcaster using the public airwaves to exert its influence for one candidate on the eve of the election. Now, there is a bit of artfulness, I suppose, when it comes to the determination of equal time. And the way that it's supposed to work is if a federal candidate is given an amount of time on a broadcast, then they are to be at least offered. They don't have to take it up, but to be offered not just equal time in time itself. So, well, she was on Saturday Night Live for 90 seconds, so that means he should get 90 seconds. It is supposed to also be offered up in a particular way that is equal to the opponent. So, in other words, another Saturday Night Live open. What's the equivalent of that? When it comes to radio, for example, if I were to have Trump on, and I had him on from 7 to 7:30, 30 minutes, and then the Kamala Harris people said we want on, and I said, okay, equal time, we could not then put a 30-minute interview on Saturday at 11 p.m. and say, well, she got equal time. It would need to be during the morning show. ideally from either 7 to 7:30, or if you could demonstrate, the listenership is the same from 8:30 to 9, and so you demonstrate that you're going to get pretty much equal footing. Well, at the very last minute, coming up with a plan to have Kamala Harris do a cold open for Saturday Night Live makes it impossible for there to be an equal opportunity time for Donald Trump. Now, NBC knows this, and NBC, we're going to give him some free airtime. The Washington Examiner, noting after the commissioner for the FEC noted Saturday Night Live violated federal rules following the surprise appearance from Kamala Harris, NBC's offering former President Donald Trump's campaign free commercial time on the network. And they know that that's not equal. Campaign ads right now are largely being tuned out by the American people because there's so many of them. It's absolutely nonstop. So they know exactly what they were doing. But let me tell you the way that the left looks at this sort of thing. Whether it's illegal campaign donations, violating some sort of Federal Elections Commission rule, violating campaign finance rules, it's the cost of doing business. It's like Hillary Clinton and her campaign paying somebody to come up with a fake dossier that would then be used by our government in order to spy on the Trump campaign. When they got caught, because the expenses that they paid were not put in the right column, because they tried to hide that expense under something else, and they got caught, they had to pay a fine. Well, that's just the price of doing business. You pay so much for commercials, you pay so much for staff, you pay so much for, having different offices in each battleground state set up, and so you violate this law, you violate this rule, they're going to slap a fine on you. NBC, for them, it's the cost of doing business. If they get fined, then they'll just see it as essentially the same as a campaign contribution to make sure Kamala Harris gets elected president. And of course, if ever there is any sort of accountability in the form of something beyond that, like losing your license, they would then scream political persecution. That we're just being persecuted because we were not supporters of Donald Trump, when in fact, instead, they violated federal election laws. But this is what we've become accustomed to in this country. There is a privileged system, and the left gets to break rules. They get to violate laws that no one else gets to. And this is yet another example of it. It's no different than Jimmy Kimmel joking about having Trump supporters vote on Wednesday and Thursday of this week. Yet when a comedian last time around, or make that 8 years ago, posted a joke about the same thing on social media, telling Hillary Clinton supporters to vote, I think, by phone or something. It was a parody thing playing off of, just like Jimmy Kimmel was, he was sentenced to prison for election interference. Now, when you note that you have two individuals that do the exact same thing, one, Jimmy Kimmel, actually having a far more effective reach than some comedian online, yet he gets away with it, the answer is, well, that's different, see? I mean, clearly he was joking. No, the difference is that's the privileged class. If you are a rich, elite liberal, you are allowed to do things in this country that the average person is not. And increasingly, unapologetically, we see the left demonstrate they fully are aware of this double standard and take advantage of it. Weather in a moment. Right now, the latest news update.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Angela Luna. There's a growing number of cities and states holding contests to look for unique I voted sticker designs. The goal is to bring added attention to the election and boost voter participation. There's also a national contest for designing the stickers, and it was launched in 2019 by the Election Assistance Commission. The Greene County Clerk's Office says the I voted sticker being passed out here was designed by a Willard East Elementary School student. A man is charged with murder after investigators say he killed his wife and son Friday night following a standoff with police in Lenexa, Kansas. Officers responded to the home after reports of gunfire and attempted to get the suspect, Todd Donovan, to come outside. Police said negotiators allegedly spoke with Donovan for 2 hours before entering the home. That's when officers found the bodies of 2 victims, and Donovan is also facing animal cruelty charges after investigators say he shot and killed his neighbor's dog on the same night. From Color 10 Studios, I'm Angela Luna.
And the first alert forecast from Color 10 Fox 49 meteorologist Tom Schmidt, sponsored by Wolfpack Cleaners, your residential and commercial cleaning professionals. Today we'll see showers and thunderstorms throughout the day with a high near 72. Tonight, once again, showers and storms with a low around 56. For your Tuesday, a 50% chance of showers early on and then cloudy skies with a high near 64. And on Wednesday, sunny with a high near 65.
We will have live election coverage tomorrow. We'll start that at 8 o'clock right after Mark Levin. We will be broadcasting from the Greene County Watch Party location. That is open to the public, University Plaza Convention Center. The door's open. You said 6 or 6:30? Which one of those two?
6:30, I
6:30. We'll be kicking things off 8 o'clock, so that's when we'll start our live coverage, and it'll go until it goes, I suppose. It would be really nice if it were a night like 8 years ago, in which Wisconsin was called, and that was the end of it. Trump won Wisconsin, and the pathway was clear for him to win the White House. And if you listen to Mark Halperin, we played his analysis earlier based off of what he was hearing on the ground in Wisconsin from 2 Republicans and a Democrat. They believe that it is Trump's to win, and that even if she wins Pennsylvania, Wisconsin could once again be the state that wraps it all up. So we'll see. Hopefully, sooner than later.
Go Patrol Traffic brought to you by A1 Custom Car Care. Winter is coming. Is your vehicle prepared? Don't get stranded in the cold. Schedule an appointment at A1 Custom Car Care today.
There's a stalled pickup truck on northbound Highway 65 ramp to eastbound I-44. It's on the right shoulder. Motorist assist just made a stop by and then left, so be aware as you're going through the area. A little heavier southbound west bypass between Battlefield and James River Freeway. A little busy now on northbound Glenstone between James River Freeway and Primrose Street. From the Go Patrol Traffic Center, I'm Tim Weiland.
Longing for thick, healthy, gorgeous hair? Hair Volume from New Nordic is trusted by millions of women around the world. With clinically proven ingredients like apple extract, biotin, and millet, Hair Volume nourishes your hair follicles to promote thicker, healthier-looking hair. Say goodbye to shedding thin and dull hair, and hello to thick, healthy hair with Hair Volume. Hair Volume is available online at Amazon, Walmart.com, NewNordicUSA.com, or at your local CVS.
Oh no, stomach issues again?
Stomach issues?
Who are you?
Your pancreas. I could be the real reason for your diarrhea, gas, bloating, stomach pain, or loose oily stools.
I thought it was my stomach.
People often do, but any of these symptoms could mean having a condition called exocrine pancreatic insufficiency, or EPI. With EPI, the pancreas doesn't release enough enzymes to break down food, but EPI is manageable. Use the symptom checker on identifyepi.com and speak with your doctor. That's identifyepi.com. Sponsored by AbbVie.
You're listening to Nick Reed in the Morning on Springfield's Talk 1041.
Bradford Light, tailored for the hardworking men and women who appreciate a reliable, easy drinking experience. Golden Elixir, tribute to the industrious spirit that defines the heartland. Kansas Territory Brewing Company, this is an offering that, up until recently, only available in the Springfield area at Hammond's Field, but now area Macadoodles and Price Cutters, thanks to Show Me Beverage. That's Bradford Light, one of the offerings from Kansas Territory Brewing Co. The media at it again with Liz Cheney comments and Donald Trump making a point that has been made over the years. Anytime anyone is making an argument about politicians sending our young men and women into war, that it's easy to do it when you're in your comfortable D.C. office, but it would be much different if they, or oftentimes you hear if their children were going over there, it would be a much different situation. This, of course, turned into accusations that Donald Trump called for the execution of Liz Cheney. And the problem that we have in this country is that people still listen to the media. And this is the same media that does fact-checking, that portrays itself as the arbiters of what is true. It's one thing to blatantly lie about an issue dealing with taxes or regulations. But to falsely accuse a presidential candidate of declaring that somebody in political opposition should be executed, you want to talk about dangerous rhetoric? The irony, of course, is the dangerous rhetoric is coming from those who are falsely accusing Trump of dangerous rhetoric. Once again, the clear attempt by the media and the Democrats to get Donald Trump assassinated is on full display. There's no other explanation for this. Why would you continue? And we need to be very, just really understand the landscape here, because the one thing that we know, and the Democrats and the media know this as well, that these claims are not hurting Trump in the polls. And the media knows this. MSNBC, the most anti-Trump network out there, has had numerous little town halls and their focus groups of undecided voters, and they've asked them about the claims of Trump being a dictator and the January 6th insurrection, and what they find is that people don't care about that. And they don't believe Trump's Hitler. They don't believe that Trump is a fascist. The average person out there does not believe that. So if it isn't done, the spreading of this disinformation, in order to win over voters because it doesn't work, then who is the target audience for that? Whom is it that the media is trying to convince that Trump is going to start executing political opposition? It's the nutcases. Because it's not the non-nutcases. Because even they know, the media knows, that it doesn't have an impact on them. There's only one audience that makes any sense, and it's the nut jobs that will go out and try to execute Donald Trump. Save the world. Save all of us. Save democracy. I mean, some of these headlines. Trump threatens ex-Representative Liz Cheney with execution by firing squad. That's the New York Daily News. Suggests 9 barrels shooting at Cheney. Trump reverts to violent rhetoric. That's Politico. The Atlantic. Trump suggests training guns on Liz Cheney's face. The most, if you missed it, what Trump said is she's a radical war hawk, talking about Liz Cheney. Let's put her with a rifle standing there with 9 barrels shooting at her, okay? Let's see how she feels about it, when the guns are trained on her face. They're all war hawks when they're sitting there in Washington in a nice building saying, oh, gee, let's send 10,000 troops right into the mouth of the enemy. This was a discussion point over the weekend on Real Time with Bill Maher.
What do you make of the statement? I woke up today to the headline that Trump had called for a firing squad for Liz Cheney. And this is what I really don't like about the media. No, he didn't. He did not. You don't have to move me to not like Donald Trump.
He says so many things. Why do you have
and
to?
by the way, if people don't realize it, well, here's what he said. He's criticizing him for being a war hawk. I mean, she is Dick Cheney's daughter. He said, she's a radical war hawk. Let's put her with a rifle standing there with 9 barrels shooting at her, okay? Let's see how she feels about it. You know, they're all war hawks when they're sitting in Washington in a nice building saying, oh, gee, we'll send tens of thousands of troops right into the mouth of the enemy. Now, of course, he expresses himself horribly. He has to add she's a stupid person because he's a moron.
Trump knows what it's really like from Vietnam.
This is exactly what hippies always said. This is exactly what peaceniks always said. This is Fortunate Son, the song. It's like, you know what? It's very easy to sit in your building and send young men to die, apropos of Ukraine, because, I don't know, that war doesn't look like it's going in the right direction. But just so, you know, just don't lie to me. I don't like Donald Trump. Don't lie to me and tell me he wants it in front of a firing squad. He was saying something that, by the way, if it came out of the mouth, some of it, not the stupid part, again, sounds like what hippies used to say about
Bill,
not sending people to, yes.
I agree with you on the lying. I mean, that is ridiculous and absurd and counterproductive. But when did Donald Trump ever criticize a war hawk the way a hippie did? I mean, was it during Vietnam? He got out of going to Vietnam, but he didn't criticize the Iraq war.
Jamie, I'm not defending Trump.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, don't lie to me.
All right, now that was Congressman Jamie Raskin there, who, by the way, Donald Trump has always, at least in the context of being president or running for president, been anti-war to the point that he's been called an isolationist. This is the disconnect from reality, the continued lies. And this is why I think it's the Federalist. The Federalist has a piece on this, and it's in the context of corporate media. They are the single largest purveyors of disinformation. I mean, this is where the real problem. It's not Russian people who are buying $1,000 worth of ads on social media. It's not Putin even. It is a combination and working with deep state people, but largely it's the media. And the argument they make, which is true, or Elle Purnell in her piece, and utilizing this stark example as to, you know, how it is the media that just straight up lies about things any longer in this country, and that we don't need information czars. We don't have to trample on the Constitution in order to fix this problem. We just need to stop listening to them. And we do. The only power they have is the power that we give them. And you're always going to have a segment of the population that simply wants to hear some news outlet validate their belief system. So there's going to be the choir regardless. But people who are going to these networks in order to try to learn about what's going on, you cannot trust them. They lie. This is beyond bias. This is straight up lying, and lying about things that are dangerous. You know, every time they are critical of Donald Trump and they are calling for some way to stifle his free speech or to trample on your free speech rights, they talk about how you can't yell fire in a crowded theater, which you can if there is a fire. But if ever there is an example of people consistently yelling fire in a crowded theater when there is no fire, it is the media when they're talking about Donald Trump. Constantly claiming, their version of fire in a crowded theater in which there is no fire is claiming that he's going to execute or calls for the execution of Liz Cheney. Claiming that he's going to use the military to round up people who disagree with him. Claiming that he's going to set up camps for Muslims and deport the ones that don't get put into camps. There's your fire in a crowded theater where there's no real fire. Going to take a break. We got weather coming up, traffic as well. I'm Nick Reed.
This is your home for the Retro Metro Lunch Bunch. Sign up to win at KSGF.com.
Concerns for constitutional freedom. Sounds pleasant, patriotic even. But who's hiding behind Missourians for constitutional freedom? Planned Parenthood, Abortion Action, George Soros. And they're using deceptive ads to trick Missourians into changing our state constitution. Amendment 3 doesn't protect women. It puts them in danger. It gives immunity to abortionists, rapists, and human traffickers if a young girl or woman is harmed by any of these criminals. It removes all parental notification and consent requirements for abortion and even for sex change operations and hormone treatments for minors. Don't let deceptive ads paid for by the abortion industry fool you. Here's the truth. Our current Missouri laws already protect women. Every Missouri law includes exceptions that protect the life of mothers and ensures medical care for miscarriages and ectopic pregnancies. Amendment 3 does not protect women. It puts them in danger. Vote no on Amendment 3. Paid for by Missouri Right to Life Political Action Committee. Patricia Skane, Treasurer 573-635-4926, MissouriLifePAC.org.
Robinhood is introducing forecast contracts so you can trade the presidential election. Through Robinhood, you can now trade financial derivatives contracts on who will win the U.S. presidential election, Harris or Trump, and watch as contract prices react to real-time market sentiment. Each contract you own will pay $1 on January 8, 2025, if that candidate is confirmed as the next U.S. president by Congress. Learn more about the presidential election contracts on Robinhood at www.robinhood.com/election. The risk of loss in trading commodity interests can be substantial. You should therefore carefully consider whether such trading is suitable for you in light of your financial condition. Restrictions and eligibility requirements apply. Commodity interest trading is not appropriate for everyone. Display prices are based on real-time market sentiment. This event contract is offered by Robinhood Derivatives, a registered futures commission merchant and swap firm. Exchange and regulatory fees apply. This station does not recommend any specific investment.
You're listening to Nick Reed in the Morning on Springfield's Talk 1041.
There was a question texted in on the Pyramid Roofing Company talk and text line about locally what early voting has been like. In Greene County, according to Shane Scholler, 16.3% of registered voters in Greene County have voted thus far. So that's what we are looking at there. Now, you may think, well, maybe that seemed like a lot because how long the lines are. Well, remember, there's only been 2 locations that have been open for early voting, given I don't even know how many locations are throughout Greene County. So when you recognize that, it makes that 16.3% seem to make sense. Springfield's Talk 1041. I'm Nick Reed.
Go Patrol Traffic, presented by Sportsland. Right now, get a spray-in bed liner for only $499.
Pickup covers and trailer sales.
It's just a little busy now on eastbound Highway 60 between Republic and James River Freeway. A little heavier on northbound West Bypass, Battlefield to Sunshine. Southbound West Bypass, a little heavy now north of I-44 to south of Kearney. Seeing heavier traffic now on eastbound James River Freeway between Campbell and National. From the Go Patrol Traffic Center, I'm Tim Weiland.
Here in Springfield, we work hard, support our families, and pay our debts. But not deadbeat Derek Nowlin. Unpaid bills, lawsuits, garnished wages, higher taxes for you, unpaid taxes for him. That's deadbeat Derek Nowlin. But it gets worse. The state of Missouri had to sue deadbeat Derek to force him to pay child support. So deadbeat Derek is also a deadbeat dad. Say no to deadbeat Derek Nowlin. The better choice? Melanie Stennett, a concerned mom, community leader, and healthcare advocate. Stennett is making our communities safer by giving law enforcement the tools they need. She's delivering record funding for Springfield schools and pay raises to support great teachers. And Stennett is providing new moms the expanded healthcare coverage they deserve. Melanie Stennett, a common-sense community leader working for us. November 5th, vote Melanie Stennett for state representative. Paid for by Heart of SGF PAC. Greg Keller, Treasurer.
KSGF Mornings with Nick Reed, sponsored by the Carricker team at IWantAGreatHomeLoan.com. Because when the time comes, you'll want a great home loan. IWantAGreatHomeLoan.com. NMLS number 1283419.
You're listening to Nick Reed in the Morning on Springfield's Talk 1041.
Springfield Talk 1041, your first alert forecast from Color 10, Fox 49 meteorologist Tom Schmidt, sponsored by St. Clair the Ozarks Home Improvements. Today we'll see showers and thunderstorms throughout the day with a high near 72. Tonight, showers and storms once again with a low around 56. For your Tuesday, a 50% chance of showers early on and then cloudy skies with a high near 64. And on Wednesday, sunny skies with a high near 65.
I was playing earlier the audio of Bill Maher Real Time, in which he was noting that the media's lying about Trump when they claim that he was calling for Liz Cheney to be executed. And, obviously Bill Maher, as he noted, I am not in any way, shape, or form a supporter of Donald Trump. Just stop lying. Stop lying. And I don't think they can help themselves. What needs to happen, again, people need to just stop watching these networks. Just stop. There is no upside to it. It's toxic. I understand that some people want to view it just to see what the other side is seeing, but it messes with your head. It's toxic. It's nasty. And if you continue to subject yourself to toxic people and toxic messaging, then it's just going to be part of your life. And I'm not saying to be ignorant and live in bliss, but I think that when you recognize that there are certain outlets that have one goal in mind and they are tethered to absolutely no integrity, then there's nothing to get from it. We already know who they are. It is humorous to me, though, the context that the lies are put into when they are acknowledged. And so you had, Jamie Raskin on there, who's an anti-Trump nut job, member of Congress. And he's like, well, the problem with this sort of thing is it gives Trump supporters ammunition. It gives them the ability to say, see it. It allows them to validate their arguments. As if the arguments aren't validated. They frame it as in the problem with the media lying is then it allows Trump people to believe that the media lies. This would be like complaining about if I clock my wife every once in a while, and then I complain that, well, every time I clock her, it just gives people who claim that I clock my wife the validation that I clock my wife, well, yeah. I mean, they act as if the problem with the media lying about Donald Trump is that it just allows him to claim that they're lying about him. I believe that we are evolving to this point in which we begin to leave the mainstream media behind. I don't believe that, at least for generations, as we know it, the place that we get news or where we have gotten news for generations, and that's your mainstream, so-called mainstream outlets, I don't think there's any saving them. And I don't think that because the pipeline from the universities to these different outlets is filled with young people who are taught to be this way. I believe what eventually is going to happen is if you continue to have individuals, podcasters like the Joe Rogans out there, that while they're not, quote, journalists officially, increasingly people who really want to find out what's going on, who really want to hear honest conversations, who want to hear a candidate talk and be asked questions from someone whose only agenda is to really get in the mind of the person who's being interviewed, that increasingly people are not going to be going to 60 Minutes. They're going to be going to the Joe Rogans of the world. And I continue to use him as an example. There are many others, but he's just, he's the highest profile individual because of his mass listenership. Out in California, there is a ballot initiative to undo the Democrats changing to the law several years ago that said you could just basically steal, was it up to $800 or $900 worth of stuff, and you didn't have to worry about it, no big deal. This was criminal justice reform, that it wasn't fair if somebody only stole $800 worth of stuff that they actually get punished for it. So the Democrats changed the law. And predictably, you saw a massive increase in crime, specifically shoplifting. People just brazenly walking in. Just brazenly filling up bags with things and then walking right out. This was not only predictable, but it was predicted by people with common sense. And there's been such a backlash by the average people because that's who gets harmed, particularly lower income neighborhoods in which they only maybe perhaps had a few different stores within walking distance and they shut down because they can't handle the crime anymore. That being the businesses, leaving these individuals in lower income neighborhoods without options, creating food deserts, among other things. So, back on the ballot goes Proposition 36, which would, if passed, make the crime of shoplifting a felony once again for repeat offenders, increase penalties for some drug charges, including those involving synthetic opiate fentanyl. Proponents say that the initiative is necessary to close loopholes in existing laws that have made it challenging for law enforcement to punish shoplifters and drug dealers. And by the way, these aren't loopholes, it's deliberate. This is exactly why the law was created in the first place. But that aside, so this is pretty important, right? This is an issue of crime. And this is something that has been driven almost solely by average citizens, particularly the middle and lower class in California. Well, you know who is still registered to vote in California? Kamala Harris. Given that crime is one of the three major issues, and it dovetails with the border to some degree, but you've got the economy, you have the border, you have crime. So Kamala Harris was asked how she voted on this. Now, you would think this would be an absolute no-brainer, right? Well, this is Kamala.
How did you vote on Prop 36?
So my ballot is on its way to California, and I'm going to trust the system that it will arrive there. And I am not going to talk about the vote on that because, honestly, it's the Sunday before the election, and I don't intend to create an endorsement one way or another around it. So, but I did vote.
She wants to be president of the United States. She wants to be a leader. She claims she recognizes, she's a prosecutor. No one has prosecuted more bad guys than she has. One of her, what most would argue is false campaign themes, is that she's tough on crime. Yet she doesn't want to weigh in on this. Well, I don't really want to alter the landscape. I mean, I don't want to interfere in this issue of crime. And, so I'm not going to say what leadership she's demonstrated. I mean, it's not unbelievable. This is what you can expect. Can you imagine what 4 years of this country is going to look like? There is no reason whatsoever, particularly for a candidate that is law and order, to not weigh in on how she voted or what because I mean, isn't this exactly what you're supposed to do? You're supposed to use your influence as a leader, say this is what needs to happen. We have a crime problem. And as you know, I'm just so tough on crime. I'm such a tough prosecutor. And so, yeah, I voted for this. We definitely need to start holding these people accountable. She doesn't want to sway the people of California. I mean, what is the downside of saying, yeah, I voted yes for Proposition 36. I mean, whose vote are you afraid to lose? And it's California. It's not like you're in danger of losing California anyhow. So you have to worry about the extreme left wing that think that, well, small business owners deserve to get ransacked and, it's simply the redistribution of wealth. I mean, if you're running in San Francisco, you're running in Los Angeles, even California as a whole, I could see maybe trying to cater to the criminal element. But it's California, it's yours. Springfield's Talk 104.1, I'm Nick Reed.
Go Patrol Traffic, sponsored by Junior's Plumbing. Hot water heaters starting at $1,400 installed. Make America and your hot water great again. Junior'sPlumbingMO.com.
A little busier northbound Campbell between Weaver and James River Freeway. It's a little heavy on westbound Kearney between Highway 65 and Nearguard. Also a little more volume on eastbound I-44 between Glenstone and Highway 65. And you've picked up a little bit more on southbound Kansas between Grand and Sunshine. From the Go Patrol Traffic Center, I'm Tim Weiland.
Do you remember that time that Stephanie Hine couldn't define a boy or a girl? Or what about when, to all our chagrin, Stephanie opposed our tax cuts again? And guess who opposed both me and you when it came time to back the blue? Stephanie Hine.
Kamala Harris continues to rack up endorsements from rich celebrities as they campaign across the country. Meanwhile, some new endorsements over the last several days for Donald Trump. The Jewish Press, the largest independent Jewish American newspaper with a powerful voice among Orthodox communities, has officially endorsed Donald Trump for president. The outlet calling a vote for him as close to being a moral imperative as we can get. While deeming his policies crucial for protecting Jewish interest against what it describes as the Democrat Party's socialist state vision under Harris, marked by wokeism and anti-Israeli policies. The press asked, can there be any other answer than no to the now familiar election time query, are you better off now than you were 4 years ago? The paper argues that Harris and the Biden administration's policy has led to soaring inflation, social upheaval from open borders, the ravages of out-of-control transgenderism, and the wokeism that has shifted businesses from innovation and wealth creators to enforcers of restrictive social agendas. Also making an endorsement for Trump over the weekend was the Somali, or a number of Somali leaders. I believe this is Minnesota or Michigan.
And the reason why is because he's a fighter. That's it. We like fighters. More importantly, the left left us. They left us. 33% of our kids at third grade cannot read at grade level. We went from the 6th to what, 19 now? In Minnesota in education? I mean, we're failing in every standard. 8th graders, 60% cannot do math at grade level. These are our kids. We talk about economic conditions here. Our conditions is horrible. We can't afford anything as working class and middle class people. Now, please understand this. We love our brothers and sisters who are Democrats, but you left us. And because the left left us, join the right, vote for Trump, 2024, vote for Joe Trabe, 2024, vote for Mazie Young in St. Paul, 2024, vote for Todd Jude in CD3, 2024, vote for Tom Emma, our lion, out of St. Cloud. Farhan is here and is endorsing him. And please go out and vote, because voting for Trump without soldiers is giving him a failure. So please vote. Again, for the school boards, we have a ton of people running who are in the school board from all over the state. And please go vote for the Republican Party this time. Thank you so much.
Okay, so that is Minnesota, the Somali leaders. So you've got, and again, this is what unity looks like. You've got the number one Jewish paper in the nation, specifically with Orthodox Jews endorsing Trump. You have Minnesota Muslim Somali leaders endorsing Trump. Then there was an event in which the former vice president of Navajo Nation endorsed Donald Trump.
What would be the doorstep on the world stage, but make America great again? Yes, we want to do that. We want to make a Native America there. I have to scoff at Build Back Better, because how can you build back better to a place you've never been, talking about Indian country with the rest of America and the rest of the world. So I want to hearken you all, if you haven't voted already, to please vote for Trump. Yeah, go Trump. Yay, go Trump! Yay, go Trump! Yay, go Trump! And so we're going to see him as our 47th president of these great United States of America. May God bless America. Thank you so much.
And then finally, Roanoke College women's swim team.
So much, President Trump. As female athletes especially, we know that men have an inherent advantage over women in sports. And due to current policies, though, men are competing against women of all ages in all sports. Joe Biden and Kamala Harris have advocated for and pushed for this anti-woman sex-based discrimination to continue all over this country. And point blank, it's unfair. So I would like to thank you, President Trump, for standing with women and promising to protect the rights of all of us. We are so lucky to have a leader like Donald Trump with common sense who knows what a strong woman is and will fight for generations of girls to come. Thank you so much, and God bless America.
Oh, yes. How awful the Hitler known as Donald Trump is for the unity of this nation. Yes, he's very, very divisive, as the mainstream media labels him. You know, when you listen to the endorsements that I played in the last segment, it really does give you insight into how maniacally evil Donald Trump is, that he could manage to make Nazis out of Somalis, out of Jews, out of Navajos, and college girl swimmers. All of these, I mean, that's just in one weekend, some of those endorsements coming in from all across the country, that he could manage to turn all of those people into Nazis. It's pretty remarkable. Even Mitch McConnell. Apparently a Nazi as well. Donald Trump referencing McConnell's endorsement of Trump for president.
Can you believe he endorsed me? Can you? Boy, that must have been a painful day in his life.
There was one, not huge celebrity endorsement, but celebrity nonetheless, that has come out for Kamala Harris, and that's Monica Lewinsky, revealing that she plans to vote for Kamala Harris and Tim Walz, the former White House intern, of course, and arguably, I suppose that it would make sense. She does have some things in common with Harris, both getting their start in politics in a similar fashion, so you can see that there would be some sort of connection there. We're going to talk with Congressman Burleson coming up in just a couple of moments in the upcoming hour. The Pyramid Roofing Company talk and text line 447 KSGF. And any of the show that you miss, of course, we've got at ksgf.com, and we'll have open lines tomorrow morning, sponsored by Delta Roofing on Election Day, and then we will broadcast live at the Greene County Watch Party starting at 8 o'clock. From the University Plaza Convention Center. News in 60 seconds. I'm Nick Reed. If you need a great home loan, then you've got a place at iwantagreathomeloan.com. We talked with Anthony Carricker on Friday out at Scramblers, our Friday Road show, and just sit back, wait for those election results to come in and see what happens. Now, there may be many of you that are planning on taking out a home loan or refinancing sometime relatively soon, but what is it that this election's going to do? One of the things Anthony pointed out, more important than the election, is the Fed decisions that they make, which, of course, many people argue are made for political purposes, but it does have an impact. And how will it impact you? You know, everyone's going to be in a different situation based off of current interest rates, how much you owe. You could have a very low interest rate, but still come out ahead with higher interest rates. There's a number of scenarios in which that could happen. They're going to tell you, they're going to get you set up and straight, and you don't have to utilize their services to use their expertise, right? Because after all, you should not make a decision as to whether or not you're going to refinance or take out a home loan until you have all of the information. So that's where you reach out, utilize their expertise so you can make the best decision possible, and it all starts at iwantagreathomeloan.com. I tell you, one of the best people just with single line responses on X is, and that's Elon Musk.
Oh, yeah.
He is just, I don't know, he has a way of just this straightforward, simple way of saying the obvious. And he was responding to a post in which Doug Emhoff, he was on MSNBC. And in this interview, Emhoff claimed that he was furious with men who like young men who like Trump, just furious with them. And he tells a story about an 18-year-old who left Trump for Kamala once he stopped watching podcasts and UFC and listened to a Kamala speech, to which Elon Musk simply replied, "I'm pretty sure that never happened even once." I mean, so many of these people, they live in this fantasy world, and then they go around trying to convince everyone else of this fantasy world. And one of them is this attempt to redefine what is masculine. And I suppose emboldened by the degree of success they have had in setting women back decades by declaring that a man can compete against women if he wants to, he can shower with women if he wants to, against their will, by the way. This success that Democrats have had on universities and in many other pockets of the world, particularly a lot of these gyms that are run by left-wingers, I think because they have been empowered to set women back in that fashion, they think that they can do the same thing with men by just declaring what a real man is. And it's difficult to do that when you don't even really seem to know what a real man is. There are just certain things that you can culturally have these shifts, but just inherent in human beings are certain traits. And when you try to defy science, when you try to just tell people that the sky is not blue, that rain is not wet, you come off looking like adult who lives in a fantasy world, and you get mocked. I mean, you get laughed at. For Doug Emhoff, oh yeah, I met this guy, and he just 18 years old. He was a real man, and then he just decided, I'm going to listen to a Kamala speech and not watch UFC, stop listening to podcasts, which, by the way, are very popular amongst people. This continued assault that the left has on podcasts and characterizing anyone, particularly men who listen to podcasts, as being toxic, and this encouragement to stop listening to podcasts, just that in and of itself shows how out of touch they are with what is going on with that segment of the population. But this storytelling of these fictitious people that just changed who they were completely. This 18-year-old who loved UFC just decided, I'm not watching it anymore because I listen to Kamala Harris. These absurd declarations further diminish any sort of credibility that they have with the average person. It's no different than telling people whose grocery bills have doubled that the economy's doing wonderful and they're better off than they always have been. And to try to tell men that you're not really a man, that a man is Tim Waltz or Doug Emhoff or women or transgenders or whatever else they want to define it as, it's only going to get you so far. And Elon Musk, I don't think, could have had a better summary of it than I'm pretty sure that never happened even once. We're going to talk with Congressman Burleson coming up here in just a couple of moments. Right now, the latest news update.
And the first alert forecast from Color 10 Fox 49 meteorologist Tom Schmidt, sponsored by St. Clair of the Ozarks Home Improvements. Today we'll see showers and thunderstorms throughout the day with a high near 72. Tonight those showers and thunderstorms will continue. We'll see a low near 56. For your Tuesday, a 50% chance of showers early on and then cloudy skies with a high near 64. And on Wednesday, sunny with a high near 65.
Now, tomorrow morning, we will have our traditional complete open phone line sponsored by Delta Roofing, where you can just call in and encourage people to vote this way, that way. While a lot of the candidate votes are probably consistent with what many of you who would feel compelled to call in and talk about, there are, of course, numerous amendments in which there may be some varying degrees of support. Some are probably pretty obvious. I think Amendment 3, this audience is more of a human rights audience, so the idea of putting in our Constitution the ability of one group of people to kill another group of people doesn't necessarily fly. But there are some of the other amendments that may be a little bit more of a mixed bag. And then our election night coverage sponsored by the great folks at Junior's Plumbing. That will begin tomorrow night at 8 o'clock from the University Plaza Convention Center. That's a Greene County watch party, so we'll be there starting at 8 o'clock. And it is open to the public, so if you want to come by and get those results as they come in with other people, then feel free to do so. We got Congressman Burleson joins us the day before the final voting day, as we know it, Election Day, and we've played some of the audio of different evaluators of polls, largely that, which I'm sure you saw, Iowa poll showed all of a sudden Kamala Harris up by 3 percentage points. Even Democrats are like, yeah, you can't really believe that poll. Not really sure what's going on there. I thought one of the more interesting discussions was Mark Halperin, and he noted that while everyone is talking about Pennsylvania, that he's been having conversations with people on the ground in Wisconsin, including 2 Republicans and 1 Democrat that just know the state very well, and they say if Kamala wins Wisconsin, and this includes the Democrat, they will be everywhere from surprised to shocked. And Mark Halperin saying, with all this focus on Pennsylvania, she could win Pennsylvania, but still lose this thing because of Wisconsin. So I guess point being, there's a lot up in the air right now, and there are the polls that get put out there by the media, and then there's the internal polling, which sometimes shows something different. I know it certainly seems as if Trump is having a really fun time. Kamala Harris increasingly at some events seems to be tired and exhausted. Whether that is reflective of something that they know due to internal polling, we don't know. But your thoughts as we go into Election Day?
All of this polling is kind of, I think it's reading the tea leaves, or trying to interpret clouds. I don't think that the polling, I've never really been confident in polling numbers, and I don't think people should put a lot of weight on the polls. I think that what we can look at is some actual numbers of voter registration. So when you look at the fact that Republicans have registered, hundreds of thousands of new people in these swing states and closed the gap. When you look at the fact that early voting, we're way up, compared to the previous election, and from what I've been told in some states, we have more Republicans early voting than Democrats. So these are all really good signs that indicate that tomorrow is going to be a very good night.
Well,
and hopefully we will win.
Well, and I'll go just a step a bit further and see if you have heard any of this information as well, that it isn't simply the early voting numbers, Republican versus Democrat, which in some states that's how people are registered. Missouri's not one of them, so that evaluation isn't necessarily at hand. But it's that that in some areas where they're able to determine this, Republicans are finding that many of the early voters that are registered as Republicans are first timers, or they don't really vote that often. Maybe they voted in 1 or 2 of the last 4 presidential elections, and that is seen as very encouraging because that's not simply shifting the votes from election day to early, but actually adding votes. Are you hearing anything along those lines?
To basically reach out to and motivate low propensity voters, Republican voters. And I think that's smart, because it's a lot easier to get low propensity voters to get out to the polls than it is to change people's mindsets. And so I think that what I have seen and heard is that our efforts in that regard have been, immensely better than in previous years. So that to me is what gives me some legitimate hope that tomorrow is going to be a good day.
Outside of that, is there anything that you are aware of that is solid, actual information that indicates one way or the other?
I don't have anything.
Well, I don't
wish
either.
I did.
No.
I'd be a rich man.
Well, I just and I don't know that there is anything else out there. I mean, it just seems. I asked that question because it seems to me as if that's really the only solid information that is out there, is the number of people that are registered by what party, if they're getting out to vote early, and then how many of those are the low propensity voters. Outside of that, I really don't know that there is anything else that one can look at.
I don't. 180,000 Amish have registered to vote this year.
Wow.
And they're all voting Republican.
Wow.
And that's a big deal.
Now,
if that's true.
Now, do you think Trump calling for Liz Cheney to be executed in public is going to hurt anything or help anything?
I get, so what's funny is I get people, a lot of times it's I would say I get some people that will text me angry saying, when are you going to come out and condemn the words of Donald Trump when he says, I mean, any number of things. And inevitably, whenever you look into it, it's that they've taken something out of context, or in some cases where they've conflated separate conversations. So, for example, one of them was, a week ago they said, because Trump called, Adam Schiff and Pelosi enemies from within.
Mm-hmm.
And then in a separate conversation with Maria Bartiromo, he said that when she asked him, what are you going to do if there's a violent protest at the Capitol? And he said, I may end up having to use the National Guard because, these violent protesters ultimately are an enemy within. And so then they conflated the two and said, he's going to deal with Adam Schiff and, and Liz Cheney and Pelosi the same way that he is dealing with a violent protest at the Capitol. All of this is nonsense. I think the American people are sick of this stuff, and so.
I agree, and I think the media knows it because I've watched, as you may have as well, even some of the left-wing networks like MSNBC, and they'll do focus groups of swing voters in battleground states and ask about January 6th or Trump being a dictator, and they all are like, whatever, that doesn't, they're indifferent to it. It's lost on them. They say they feel it's just political rhetoric. It's overboard. So it's not working with voters, seemingly.
No, they have been calling us Nazis,
right,
and all deplorables and garbage for years. So they've already used up all the hyperbole and the rhetoric. There's nothing left.
Well, don't you think it's interesting? We're talking with Congressman Burleson, and I don't know what to make of it other than it just was a weird timing with the election so close that there was the clear fallout from Biden calling Trump supporters garbage when, Trump supporters, like you said, to your point, we've been called everything under the sun, Nazis, semi-fascist, and like all of this sudden garbage somehow is the one thing that has caused the Democrats a problem. It's so weird.
Funny too. Yeah, we've been called Nazis. People didn't get angry until we were called garbage.
Right? Like, well, now that's just a step too far. We're talking again with Congressman Burleson. It really is sad that the media is so intent on misleading people because I was playing audio from a number of events over the last several days. Well, one, it wasn't audio, but it was a story about the Jewish Press, which is the largest independent Jewish American newspaper amongst Orthodox communities in particular, strongly endorsing Donald Trump. Then I played audio from multiple Muslim Somali leaders in St. Paul, Minnesota, holding a press conference endorsing Donald Trump. There's the former vice president of the Navajo Nation at an event endorsing Donald Trump. And then you had the girls' swim team from Roanoke College that had at an event endorsed Donald Trump. And you just look at all of these different people with totally different backgrounds, different religions that are all coming together and unifying under Donald Trump. Yet he's Hitler, he's divisive. Kamala Harris, we're told, is the great unifier. And I'm like, other than Hollywood celebrities, who is she unifying? You just look at the reality, and we've become accustomed to this, but the starkness in which it is in complete opposition to reality is such a horrifically devastating snapshot of where media is today in this country.
Yeah, to me, it's Hunger Games has become reality.
Yeah.
So whenever these leftists and the Hollywood elite that they're them, just picture them at their events where they have the transgender people and all the kind of crazy weird stuff that they do. And to me, that reminds me of the Hunger Games, where you have these elitists who are living in a bubble, and they expect the world to worship them and to fall in line with their views and opinions. Meanwhile, we're here struggling, right? Yeah. People are struggling because of the inflation costs. We have crime rates that are increasing. You've got people dying of fentanyl poisoning, and they keep the borders open. You've got tens of millions of people coming through and taking our jobs, right? And then feeding off of our system, costing the taxpayers billions of dollars, if not hundreds of billions of dollars a year, right? And we're at $35 trillion in debt. So these people who are literally just living in their bubble with their Hollywood celebrity friends in some kind of dystopian Hunger Games, that I think that the American people are sick of it. And that's why they don't see the Hollywood elite for helping them out. They don't see them for helping out the little guy. They see Donald Trump as the one that's looking out for us and the little guy.
Final question, and I know we talked about it last week, but Amendment 3, this is another one of those issues in which straight up brazen lying, and to me, what really infuriates me is seeing these ads where it's somebody sitting in church acting as if, God's all about just slaughtering kids, and that's what Jesus would want, and trying to couch it as some sort of religious thing. And when I hear about people that masquerade as religious people or Christian people that instead go out and try to convince good people that killing unborn children is a good thing. And then just the straight up lying that, women, this is for their health. And if they have a miscarriage, they can't currently get health care. And these things that are just so 100% completely untrue. I know last week you said you felt as if as people were learning more information about what's actually in it, that this was moving us towards a direction in which the people might vote against this. Are you still there, or do you have any changes to your sense on Amendment 3?
Yeah. Churches and pastors and people in Southwest Missouri in particular. I don't know what's gonna happen, across the state in areas like St. Louis or Kansas City. I've seen some polling numbers that give me some hope that we're going to defeat it, but I don't trust polls.
Right.
So I would say, again, just encourage everybody, if you're listening, please post on social media, tell your friends that, regardless of their view, this is a radical, regardless of your view about abortion, this is a radical,
right,
absolutely horrific bill. It forces taxpayers to fund something that hasn't been done in, 50 years since the Hyde Amendment. It's forcing it to happen on the state level. It is, one of the things I'm hearing, actually, an ad or a news clip that was playing where they're trying to correct the statement that this is removing a particular provision for a partial birth abortion. And while it might be illegal federally, at the end of the day, if you vote for this bill, you are removing it on the state of Missouri's level.
Yeah.
And you're basically putting a constitutional amendment that says that the legislature and any partial birth abortion bans are unconstitutional according to the state of Missouri. So it is I think people should reflect on how radical this Amendment 3 is. And I think that at the end of the day, when you look at what happened with the Dobbs decision, really reflect on what was the outcome. Missouri was a state where, because people are pro-life in Missouri, even some Democrats were pro-life. We were a state where we had regulated to the point where there were no abortions happening in Missouri prior to the reversal of Roe v. Wade. And Illinois was, open field, like people could go have an abortion. And sadly, and I say sadly because I would love to end abortion across the United States, but after the Dobbs decision, guess what? Substantively, Missouri stayed a state where you can't have an abortion. In Illinois, you can. And substantively, it didn't really change everything.
Right.
And I think that people need to stop hyperventilating and let the dust settle, so you can, and then we can decide where to go from there.
Well, clearly, as much as they wanted to scare people into thinking they weren't going to be able to have abortions, when at the Democratic National Convention they were giving women coupons for free hot dogs if they aborted their own child, that tells us that it wasn't something that has, become eliminated in this country. And it's gotten to the point where they have to falsely claim Trump's going to put in some federal ban, and it's because they know the truth is not on their side. I trust, hopefully we'll get an opportunity. I know you'll be very busy tomorrow, but as we do election night coverage from the University Plaza Convention Center, we're going to kick that off at 8 o'clock, sponsored by Junior's Plumbing, that hopefully we'll get a chance to grab you and hear from you some if you're not too busy.
I will be at 2 watch parties. I will first be at the Nixa, the one at the Nixa Event Center over there by the sports complex. And then I will also be at the University Plaza.
Sounds good.
So everyone who's listening, please, these are free events. If you consider yourself a Republican or you vote for a Republican tomorrow, please come, or if at all, please attend these. These are not. You don't have to be somebody that paid for a ticket or is, someone. Anybody and every Republican is welcome to come to these watch parties.
Congressman Burlington, we shall see you tomorrow, hopefully for a quick and joyous night.
Yes. Thanks, Nick.
All right, you bet. Springfield's Talk 104.1. I'm Nick Reed. Sarah Myers, everyone.
Thank you. The Pyramid Roofing Company. Now, we've had lots of rain over the last 24 hours, and if you woke up this morning and you notice that you have yellow spots on your ceiling, or maybe you have drips starting to develop, or maybe your gutters are just not functioning the way that they should be, have Josh and the Pyramid Roofing Company team out to your home ASAP. Now, the Pyramid team, they offer free roof inspections, so you're not out anything whenever you call them, and when they come out, they don't give you a long sales pitch. They're going to just tell you how it is. Maybe you're in a situation where you don't need a whole new roof. Maybe you need just a simple roof repair. Whatever the situation is, the Pyramid team, they're going to be upfront and honest about the work that needs to be done at your home. So if it is time to schedule that free roof inspection, give the Pyramid Roofing Company team a call today. Now you can find all of that contact information for the Pyramid Roofing Company under the Sarah's Endorsements tab at ksgf.com.
Pyramid Roofing Company talk and text line. Liz Cheney firing squad. Nobody, including Nick, mentions that in that statement Trump mentions giving Liz Cheney a rifle. Never in history has a person being executed by a firing squad been given a rifle. Yes. Now, some people may say those are details that are... that was actually mentioned on Bill Maher's show when he was, saying the media just stop lying about this stuff. And I think part of the reason that it isn't getting mentioned so much is because the whole thing is so absurd. And absurd almost diminishes the damage that the media is doing in our country today. And we just have got to stop paying attention to them, stop watching them, stop listening to them. And it doesn't mean everyone, but those that so brazenly lie. And this is dangerous rhetoric. The point I made earlier is the irony here is in an effort to claim Trump is using dangerous rhetoric, they are the ones using dangerous rhetoric to falsely accuse a presidential candidate of saying that he wants his political opposition put before a firing squad. There are going to be people who believe that. And now some Democrats who hear it and believe it will dismiss it as, they'll believe that he actually said it, which isn't true, but they'll dismiss it as, well, he probably won't actually do that. But there will be people who believe it and believe that he will do that. When you have a sitting member of Congress, that Congresswoman Dingell, who on with Jake Tapper claimed that Trump was going to put her and others in concentration camps or internment camps, you can see how people would believe this is a sitting member of Congress claiming this and allowed to claim it. Now, Jake Tapper, to his credit, acted a little skeptical, but he didn't call her out for brazenly lying in a way that is dangerous. And the solution is not shutting them down. Now, if you are on a major network, there are regulations in place that require certain adherence to rules and being for the public good. And so when you are a major network, like, for example, CBS, or 60 Minutes, and you have editing of interviews of Kamala Harris, arguably in order to help her, in other words, deceive the public, when you're using public airwaves, you do have license requirements by the government in which you are supposed to be straightforward and honest of things and be a public service, not an advocate for one candidate over the other. Aside from that component in all this, the ultimate answer is we just turn them off. Because they are toxic and they do nothing other than pit people against one another based off of false information. They're bad for our country. Springfield's Talk 104.1, I'm Nick Reed.
Springfield's Talk 1041, your first alert forecast from Colorton, Fox 49 meteorologist Tom Schmidt, sponsored by Wolfpack Cleaners, your residential and commercial cleaning professionals. Today we'll see showers and thunderstorms throughout the day with a high near 72. Tonight those showers and storms will continue. We'll see a low around 56. For your Tuesday, a 50% chance of showers early on and then cloudy skies with a high near 64. And on Wednesday, sunny skies with a high near 65.
I mentioned the very weak economic numbers that were revealed. The administration was, or the experts, which, I mean, why do we continue to use the same people over and over again that have the wrong numbers over and over again? Over 100,000 ended up being what they reported to be 12,000. Now, even the problem with those numbers was the fact that 40,000 government jobs were added, which meant that I think 28,000 private sector jobs were lost. So even the number saying that it was only 12,000, as small as that is, that's not even accurate if you take out government jobs. Because we lost private sector jobs in the last month. Is this the direction we want to continue? I love the comparison and contrast, and it was noted that in the past month, Biden and Harris have delivered more illegals into this country than jobs, which, again, given that it was a loss of jobs in the private sector, there is this disconnect a lot of Democrats have, and it really seems to impact Democrats in particular, from the people that are elected and the results of those people's policies. You find any time there is an evaluation of results, whether it's Republican or Democrat, they always figure out some way to tell you that doesn't count. On one hand, they portray elections as the presidential election as the single most important thing ever. But then, for example, when you point out the results of the election, let's say Joe Biden when it comes to gas prices, well, he can't do anything about that. Grocery prices under Joe Biden, well, that's not really his fault. Overall inflation when it comes to insurance, interest rates, whatever the issue, well, that's not his fault. He can't do anything about that. Well, then what was the point in electing him? And it works on the flip side as well. Every time there would be these fantastic results for the average American and the small business owner in this country, under Donald Trump, we were told, well, that's not really because of what he did. That's not because of the tax cuts. Oh, that's just left over from Obama. That's what that is. They live in two different worlds. One is a world in which they will stand in the streets and they will scream, and they find presidential elections to be so important, if they don't go their way, they have to go into therapy. But then when you talk about the things that are actually going on in the country, they claim that has nothing to do with the president. And there's consistency there because, generally speaking, overall, when there's a Republican that's president, particularly since Trump has been in the White House or was in the White House, things went very well. And when Democrats are making the decisions from an executive level, things go poorly. And this contradictory approach of elections are so important, so significant, the country is going to come halting to an end if things don't go our way. But then whenever they get their way and we start to see the results of their policies, they just tell us about how they can't do anything about that. Well, that's not his fault. Then what is it that you're voting on? And it's also how it is that many of us can at least understand why it is that these people who, what was it? I saw some, there's an actress, Cersei, I forget her last name. She has an Irish accent. She's a really good actress. She was born here in the States but raised over in Ireland. Her parents are from Ireland. And she's a huge Kamala Harris supporter. But she was going on and on about how she feels unsafe leaving her home in New York or wherever it is, how bad things are. But then she's talking about how we have to get Kamala Harris in there. Total detachment the left has from the people they support and the results of the people they support. Springfield's Talk 104.1. I'm Nick Reed. Wilder RV, all of your RV needs. Winter, it'll be here before you know it. For many of you, that means it's storage time. And in the spring, when you get it out, that's when you once over everything and you take care of those repairs before you get it out. But if you, of course, rely on experts like those folks at Wilder RV, sometimes when spring approaches and the RV weather approaches, you got to wait a while because a lot of people utilize Wilder RV in order to have their RVs maintained. Why don't you do it now? Don't wait. Have it all done, taken care of before you put it up for the season. That way you don't have to wait in line with everyone else. And you know what? Who knows? You may find some of their end-of-the-year deals, maybe just a brand new one. Trade one in. It's up to you. Worth a look-see. Now, of course, you can always just drive on up 13 north of Springfield, a little over an hour, into Clinton, Missouri, Wilder RV, or just check them out. They got a great website, wilderrv.com. Also, KSGF.com under Nick's endorsements. San Jose State University has suspended an assistant volleyball coach indefinitely for speaking out against the inclusion of a man who identifies as a woman playing on the roster. Now, this is of the assistant coach's own team. The associate head coach of the San Jose State University women's volleyball team is not with the team at this time and we will not provide further information on the matter, the school said in a statement to Outkick. The suspension follows a tumultuous week in which assistant coach Melissa Beatty-Smoose, a female, took public and legal action against the school for filing a Title IX complaint and giving an interview in which she lamented the toxic culture created by the school's aggressively enforced trans inclusion policy. At the heart of the Title IX complaint, in a report obtained by Quillette, is an allegation from Beatty-Smoose that Fleming, the male player, and another teammate engaged in a conspiracy to help San Jose State lose a match and injure SJSU player Brooke Slusser. Slusser is a member of women's sports advocate Riley Gaines' Title IX suit against the NCAA that accused SJSU of deliberately covering up the fact that Fleming was a male. Specifically, Beatty-Smoose, the assistant coach, alleges Fleming and another teammate violated team rules by leaving their hotel on October 3rd to meet with Colorado State player Malaya Jones. During this meeting, Fleming and the unnamed SJSU player gave Jones scouting reports on the team, and Fleming agreed he would not block any shots from Colorado State directed at Slusser. Quillette reports that Beatty-Smoose became aware of the plot after the unnamed SJSU player confessed it to her. The early October matchup between SJSU and Colorado State was the first game after Slusser's first critical public statement against Fleming on September 30th. The timing of the statement and the date of the conspiratorial meeting involving Fleming and the Colorado State player led Beatty-Smoose to conclude the plot was a direct retaliation for speaking out against the transgender player. Once again, we have the left putting women in their place. And I will once again note that this is not as much as they want to couch it as a transgender issue as much as it is a men telling women what to do issue, because this door never swings the other way. Never are there stories about men losing out on scholarships, men losing out on medals, or men being injured because of females who identify as males playing in sports against them. It's always the women who are the victims. And you cannot claim that you're some champion for women or a protector of women if you take a position in which women are always the victim. Springfield's Talk 1041, I'm Nick Reed. There has not been near the attention that should be paid to the Jewish man that was shot on his way to a synagogue. This is in Chicago. And it was by an Islamic shooter, the Allah Akbar, the whole thing. It was very deliberate. And this is somebody who was allowed into the country illegally. There is at the very least, an appropriate degree, though arguably it should be a greater degree of attention paid to the implication on the Jewish people of Israel if Kamala Harris wins versus Donald Trump. And I'm telling you now, in all likelihood, the path to peace is going to be Donald Trump, because the Israelis are going to recognize what Donald Trump did before, and that was bring Iran to its knees economically. Kamala Harris is not going to do that. She is going to continue the current administration's approach of funding terrorism through Iran, which means Israel is going to have to use military in order to fight back. So the implications of what happens with Israel are vast when it comes to the outcome of this election. But in addition to that, I think what has occurred, unfortunately, is a complete underappreciation for what is going to happen to the average Jewish person in this country. Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer is being slammed as a traitor following damning claims. He instructed administrators at Columbia University to dismiss any criticism of the school's handling of blatant violence and anti-Semitism on campus in the wake of the October 7th attacks. And what the report found, through communications, text messages, and emails, that these universities that were coming under scrutiny because they were allowing anti-Semitism and violence against Jews, is that Chuck Schumer was essentially telling them, don't worry, it'll all settle down, you'll be fine. Springfield's Talk 1041, I'm Nick Reed.